at this hour. So we'll start the meeting. The first order of business, well, first I'd like to welcome our new members. If you'd like to introduce yourself.
Michael Holland.
Okay, and
Brooks Doherty.
okay. And maybe we should introduce ourselves all around.
Trackton.
Jerome Beach.
Jeremy Rosner.
Jody Allant,
Mika Cardozo.
who's our liaison for the Board of Selectmen.
Right.
Welcome. I know from speaking with you at the July picnic meeting that you both have incredible resources. That you will bring to the commission. So thank you for joining us and offering your services. Our first order of business is nominations. Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to nominate you, Jody, as the chair, and Jamie as the vice chair.
Wonderful. Thank you. I appreciate it, and I accept your nomination. And I spoke with Jamie early in the week. He's out of town, and he also accepts your nomination. Do we have a second of that?
Second the nomination.
All in favor?
Aye.
Fabulous. Thank you. I appreciate that. And now we can go on to our next order of business, which is we invited Katie Brown. Katie Poole from Massaro Farm. She's the executive director of Massaro Farm, which is our community agricultural organization. And I think it's S. And it's really an incredible resource for our town, for those of you who may not be familiar with it. And one of the reasons why Katie is here is because with the Woodbridge Fallapalooza, the Massaro Farm is one of the featured events. Right. And so we've asked Katie to come in and give a presentation on what the farm is to the town, and we'll have an opportunity to ask questions of her after. Yeah.
Thank you for having me. I'll try to keep it quick. Since I met some of you for the first time, and I see some faces who haven't been to the farm, I've talked to Jody off and on for a couple of years now, and she's one of our farm subscribers. I thought it would be nice to come and just give a quick overview, because I know we have new people coming to Woodbridge all the time, and just to let people know what the farm is and what it isn't. Hey. The farm used to be a family-owned dairy farm until the last surviving Massaro son, who did not have any children, left the property to the town, and it went into conservation. So the property is protected from division or development, but that still sort of left the town wondering what to do with the property. And there were a couple initial proposals, and one of them was a group of residents who lived in the surrounding area who said, we'd really like to resurrect this as a farm. Of course, this was in the 2008-2009 timeframe, when funding was not readily had, but they worked hard and started raising funds and formed their nonprofit and a board, and brought together enough funding to resurrect the farm and convert it into an organic vegetable farm. So that is primarily what we do. We are first and foremost a farm, and the town generously leases that property to us for $1 a year. And that's the length of the commitment from the town fiscally, although we get lots of support in other ways from the town of Woodbridge. So we support ourselves through the sale of our vegetables. We started out farming on 4 acres, and now we're up to just about 10. This is our 8th season. So we don't have plans to grow a huge amount more, because there's a nice swath of property there, but a lot of it is still woods and wetlands, so it's not really suitable for all open fields. But we probably have about 12 to 14 open acres that are now fenced in, that we could sort of use to rotate additional crops through. The farm primarily runs on a CSA model, so subscription based. We started out with a little over 100 subscribers, and now we do 200 annually throughout the season. We also service 4 farmers markets. That was up from 2 last year, and we sell to a number of restaurants in the area on a small scale, but they're regular buyers. And then in addition to that, our primary mission at the farm as a nonprofit is to feed people and build community. So the feed people part is maintaining a commitment to donate at least 10% of what we grow back to the community. And for several years now, we've had an ongoing partnership with Human Services here. So we give weekly to them during our harvest season. We give to Salvation Army, and other partners rotate in and out just depending on the season, and we try to be responsive and give folks a fair chance. So we kind of bring people on and cycle them off every other year or so just to try to spread the wealth around. And then the build community part is being a community resource. We host lots of educational events at the farm. That includes adult workshops on things like organic land care, and our educational program for youth in schools is actually growing quite a bit. We're starting our 5th year of having an AmeriCorps service member at the farm. In the last year, I would say I don't have a count yet for 2017, but last year we had just over 1,500 kids visit the farm in curriculum-based field trips. So that's a program that is growing, and we're excited about that. So what I gave you today was just a copy of last year's annual report. This is something that we've been doing for the last several years, and we mail it to all town residents at the end of the year, and we try to give folks a recap of what we've done over the past year, how much food we've donated, how many people have visited the farm. So this is as of last December, and we'll be getting another one of these out probably around the same time this year, so you can look for that in your mailbox. We also try really hard to keep our website up to date and try to be an open and inclusive organization, so people are always welcome to volunteer, serve on a committee, serve on a board. I'm happy to host farm tours. In fact, we just had our annual farm to table dinner. It's our one real big fundraiser that we do each year, and that actually helps to support those food donation and education programs that we do. And as a result of that, we're actually going to be hosting a realtor open house on October 2nd, which I'm very excited about, with Schaefer Inspection. So that's a open invite. So if anybody wants to come by, you can let me know, and we're happy to give you a farm tour and answer more questions on that date. But I just wanted to give you guys an overview. A lot of folks think we're a town commission, and we're not. We are a separate nonprofit, but we're still open and inviting for lots of community partnerships, help us achieve what we do on the farm, whether it's the Girl Scouts or the United Way, or there's lots of organizations that we partner with to do different things on the farm. With that, I can answer any other questions anybody has. Yeah.
In terms of shares, so you said you're up to 200 families or 200 people who are
Yes.
share. Is that limited, or can you?
There is a sweet spot for us as to how much we can accommodate, so we usually shoot for that. If it goes a little bit over, that's okay, because we do grow extra, and the extra is what goes to donations, farmers markets, restaurants. But it does seem to be a comfortable range between like 190 and 210 of based on what we're currently growing and how many fields we have under cultivation.
And are you meeting that goal?
Yes. We fill up each season. We've never not filled up.
And when do the share? Is there like an early season and a late season?
No, actually, the first year or two we actually did separate a summer and a fall. The last several years we've just been doing one long season, which runs from June through October. So when you sign up, you're usually signing up between January and April is really the best time to do that. And then, but as we mature in other ways and get more demand, and since a lot of folks in Woodbridge do tend to be away for periods of time over the summer, we are thinking about, now that we have more administrative capacity, to split that again. So we may do that for next year. That's up to the farm manager. Yeah.
How much did you charge for a CSA this year?
I believe it was $675
for the whole season.
For the whole season. Wow. So that's 20 weeks. We always base that on the whole season has been a 20-week subscription.
And you just have one size?
We do have one size. That's up to the farm manager whether or not he can handle doing a half share or other things. But if people only want a half share, I try to match people up. But yeah, it's a good amount. And considering we're certified organic, we try to maintain the prices that are comparable to market.
Do you have any sort of a farm stand where like public can come if they're not a share member, or someone can drive in?
We haven't been doing that at the farm because we've been taking our produce to the farmers market. So as I mentioned, we've been coming to the Woodbridge market since it started. You can also find us in Westville at the Sunday Market at Edgewood Park. So it's not too far away. Yeah, and we usually go to that market and the Worcester Square Farmers Market in New Haven almost all the way up until Christmas, usually just depending on what we have. So we can go, now that we've got more high tunnels, it makes our season longer. And last year we went until the first or second week of December. So
What do you sell in the late season then?
there are a lot of greens, fall squashes that we can provide. So it can be still pretty diverse. Last year we were still having tomatoes in November. I don't think that'll be the case this year, but yeah, I mean, you can get 8 or 10 different things each week. So surprising.
And don't forget about your fruit option.
That's right. We partner with a fruit farm in Meriden to add fruit as well for people who want to do that. So, and we've also recently started carrying eggs from a neighboring farm, because we didn't have quite enough with our chickens. And a lot of folks who are coming for vegetables want other things too. So we're trying to accommodate that. So
what's the biggest challenge you guys face?
I would say there are a couple. Let's see. One is just maintaining the base of support. Obviously, I think there are a lot of nonprofits in the area, and we're blessed that we've had lots of support from day one. We try to grow slow and systematically and not take on projects that we can't support. And I think we've done a pretty good job of careful fiscal management so far. But of course, ongoing funding is always sort of the question mark for nonprofits. Really just capacity. So we get lots of requests for things like having an on-site farm stand or doing certain types of programmings, and we keep a pretty small staff. I mean, our farm manager who lives on the property only employs about 6 to 7 people for the season, and on the education fundraising side, until this year, it's just been myself, and now I have 2 part-time staffers. So trying to be responsive to all of these things with the moderate staff that we have is probably the other challenge. And then right now, we're getting to the point, because we're closing in on that 9-year mark for the farm, some of our founding board members are getting to reach those term limits. So we'll be at a point where some of our originating board members will cycle off. So we'll be looking for some new board members to join us. Yeah. So I hope you guys come out and visit. I'm happy to host a tour. We do them all the time. As a matter of fact, the senior group from the senior center here is coming out this coming Monday for Farm to Chef Week, and Elaine is going to be cooking a meal for them using produce from the farm. So that's the kind of thing we like to do on a regular basis, because once you get out there and you walk around, you really do fall in love with it. And we are a farm, but we have a nice barn with Wi-Fi and tables and projectors. So if anybody's looking for meeting space or anything like that, we can accommodate
And
groups up to a certain size.
Are you doing birthday parties now?
We can do that, yes. We try to keep, like your event, we try to keep it within certain limits, because we're always mindful of the impact on the farm.
But for kids, can you do
Yeah, we can do that, absolutely. Yeah, we've done a few of those, yeah.
And you have hiking trails as well? You have walking trails?
We have one main loop that it goes, one with an intermittent. So we use our woods and wetlands on the farm for educational purposes by having a walking trail through that. So it's just under 2 miles. So it's not huge, but it is a nice walk.
And any town resident can go on?
Anybody can come. It's open all the time. So we just ask people be respective of since the farm manager lives on the property, to be respectful of privacy, during the off hours. But there are directional signs, and that is open every day of the year. So we don't close that. I also want to mention, I know that on the funding line that we were just discussing, I'm here because we're always looking for synergies. So I try not to recreate the wheel when we take anything new on. If the town becomes aware of anything, I know the situation that our state is in, but still, if there's small cities funding or Department of Transportation funding or things that you think that might be relevant to the farm, we are town-owned property, so there may be situations where we may be able to jointly do things together. And 2 priorities for us right now are putting a pavilion up, because we don't really have a covered outdoor space for all of these things that we do with kids. and we do a lot. And so we'd like to create that that is a model of sustainable energy use with solar power and water capture, and then adding some additional parking, because right now we thankfully have use of the old Hilltop Health Center parking lot across the street, but the use of that building is uncertain. So on our own property, we only have space for 15 cars. So with 200 CSA members coming through there twice a week and all the other activities we have going on, we do have a plan that we will probably bring to TP&Z after an engineering study to, put in some additional parking. So if there's any things that you guys come across or think of, we'd love to hear about it. So.
Absolutely. I
All
know
right.
you have a board meeting to go to.
That's true, I do.
But one of the reasons why I'm thrilled that you're here this week, in particular, this month in particular, is because you're participating, or the farm's participating in Woodbridge Fallapalooza. So if you can give us 5 minutes while Kate will give us a lowdown on what's happening with Woodbridge Fallapalooza, because we love the synergy and we love that Massaro Farm's participating.
Yeah, and it's really growing as an event, all the organizations that we have participating in this.
And so I'd like to hear, I know for those who are new to the board, but to the commission, when Kate came to the commission, when she was not a commissioner, to create the Scarecrow Festival, we as a commission were very, very concerned about stepping on the other institutions' toes within town. You being one, Massaro Farm being one, because you already had a farm day in October. So I'm so thrilled that a couple of 4 or 5 years later, there's now an umbrella called the Woodbridge Fallapalooza, and everybody's working together to make this a Woodbridge month, basically.
Yep.
Okay. So our update, I think it looks like everybody has this. And so you can see the different events we have going on, but for those people that are watching from home or eventually will see this, it's really exciting this year. We have grown by leaps and bounds. We have some exciting new events that are happening. Some of the existing events that were going on even before they became part of Fallapalooza have really blossomed under this umbrella. So the first thing that we have going on, which does not appear on this list because it happens in September, is the library is hosting a Scarecrow Build event. And the idea is to invite families or whoever, individuals, to come. The date is September 30th, right?
Yes.
Because they changed it a couple of times. And so anyway, so September 30th, they're invited to come. Massaro is generously donating the straw and the stands again. And the idea is to have people bring clothing or whatever it is they want to decorate their scarecrow, and then businesses will essentially adopt them. And so a business can call Tony at the town hall, and this is going out in the town-wide business email to say, this is what we're doing, and if you'd like to adopt a scarecrow and host it at your business, then let us know. So that's fun and exciting, and a little bit a different way to try to pump up some of the interest in getting the scarecrows and tying that theme together around town. Okay, so from there, our first event of the Fallapalooza month-long is the Business After Hours, which is being held at Antonio's. At that event, as with many others, we will have this flyer available. So hopefully we can, let businesses know about what's going on, and they can push the information out to their clients. The road race is, as always, held the first Saturday of the month. At the same day, across the street at the high school, the Marrakesh is hosting a health and wellness fair. The following weekend, this is a new event this year, which we're excited to have. Animal Control is hosting a pet costume contest at Blue Check Deli. So that will be really fun. The idea there not only is to get another town department involved, but also to branch out and have Blue Check involved. So we're bringing it to another space in town, outside of the business district, outside of Massaro Farm, which has been involved before, and some of the other facilities, Darling House. That is going to be exciting, and their intent is to help to raise some funds for their major renovation that's coming up. So they'll be selling t-shirts and doing a contest with some raffle prizes, etc. Massaro Farm Family Fun Day is the same day, and we staggered the times. The idea is that we will have a scarecrow at the pet costume parade. with a whole little, cutout, and join us now at Massaro Family Fun Day, and obviously they will have information there as well.
That happened last year, by the way. We came after something else. I don't remember what was earlier in the day, but we had a definite increase in foot traffic. We ran out of a lot of materials last year because we had so many more folks. So we're trying to plan for that this year.
Darling House is once again hosting their open house with a hearth cooking and a hike, and that's the 15th, which is the Sunday of that weekend. The JCC is presenting My Mother's Kitchen at the Woodbridge Town Library on that day. That week on Thursday evening, Coachman Square is once again hosting a fall fashion show. This year they're starting with a happy hour at 5 and the show followed at 6:30. And we have a couple of our town businesses that were not involved last year participating this year. The Red Barn and the Right Approach are both going to be participating, which is exciting and fun. The Willows is hosting a business expo and harvest festival the following weekend from 1 to 4. That's on the 21st.
And is that new?
That's new, yeah. So last year, or the couple of years prior, if you remember, they did the antique car show, and so this year they're doing a harvest festival. The car show has gone away, and we haven't confirmed yet exactly what that will be. Shanique is still working on the details, but their intent is to have some fall-themed family things. Perhaps a horse-drawn carriage ride or some sort of petting zoo, something along those lines. And their intent is to have it outdoor on the front lawn, which draws a visual from Amity Road, but they do have plenty of space indoors to accommodate. They do a big craft fair there also, so they have plenty of room in case it does rain. They're still going to do it the same day. So if any of you are interested, any business in town is invited to come and set up a table and talk about whatever it is that your offerings are here in town. So that's a new event. Another new event, the JCC is hosting an indoor pool party on the 22nd from 1:30 to 3:30. And another new event is New England Brewing. We're excited that they're bringing back Frightening Final Friday, which is the last Friday of October. That's from 6 to 9. Then on Saturday, Pampered in Pink, once again at Progressions. That is an annual event they've been doing for many years, raising money for breast cancer research and funding.
And that's another event that existed under its own umbrella, and Stephanie,
yeah,
came
Mario.
in and we sort of asked if she would come under the Woodbridge Fallapalooza umbrella.
Yeah. And the exciting addition to that event this year is the Mammo van is coming from Smilo. So they're pushing that information out from the salon, but also on Facebook, social media, etc. So please, by all means, share that information if you know anyone, if there's any woman in your life that might like to participate. That's really exciting for us. And also for the event, it's a pretty big visual in the parking lot when you have this big pink van there. So that's pretty cool. We're excited that they're able to get that together. Saloon is hosting a costume party that evening starting at 6. And then on the 31st, as usual, the volunteer fire department is doing their truck or treat with the fireworks following. The other thing that we've done this year in an attempt to marry retail and restaurants is what we've done is we're calling it R&R in Woodbridge, and that is we're inviting all of the restaurants and retail establishments to do something, and we're not being specific. It's up to them. It's obviously their businesses. The last 2 years, we did a restaurant week, which was a little bit challenging to pull off just because of the number of restaurants we have and the fact that they're very different in size and scale. This allows them to do whatever it is that's going to best suit their business. So one of the things that will go out to them is a frame that will mimic the coloring of this. It will say Woodbridge Fallapalooza, and essentially this will be blank. And within this frame, they can promote whatever their special will be, whether it's a sale or some sort of dining experience, etc. But it ties it all together by having it on the Fallapalooza paper. So that's new for this year. I think that's it. I think those are all the events that we have. Oh, the other big thing is that we got the approval for the sandwich board signs, and Tony just showed us the other day. They're finished. You have one? So those will go out the last week of this month and stay out through the month of October. You'll see it has the website address on there. so people can go on there to see what events we have going out throughout the month. The other nice thing about this, from a space perspective, as you can see, this is getting pretty busy, which is the great news. The challenge to this is that, you know, you can't, if we add much more to this, it gets completely lost. By having that formatted that way, anybody can go on and say, okay, now I can see exactly what's happening in town. The other nice thing is, as other events come up and other businesses become more aware of this, we can add them onto the town website and they can still be included under this umbrella. For example, I know the Red Barn is getting ready to celebrate her 10-year anniversary and her 1-year anniversary in her new space at 245. So that's an event we can add to the town website that won't necessarily appear on here. So any other businesses in town that are interested in doing something during the month should reach out to us, and we can make sure it gets on the town website as you know, part of this umbrella of events for the month of October.
Katie, I'm just curious, since you had a standalone event and now you're under the umbrella, I guess, from what you said, it has helped in some ways with last year's event, did you feel, in getting people?
Definitely, we noticed last year, yes,
Okay.
for sure. I think the couple years prior, we had like rain delays, which
Yeah.
sometimes you lose people that way. So, but yeah, as I mentioned, I think last year we definitely saw. So I like to think it was in connection with this. With the joint promotion really helps.
Okay.
I mean, we're all doing these things, and each of them stand on their own, maybe kind of small, but having, you know, coming from this small organization, I know like. Promotion is a big key to making these things successful. So I think the idea that we're co-promoting and sharing that burden really goes a long way for everybody participating. Yeah.
Is there anything that you think, I mean, it may be late in the game this year, but do you have any ideas of where we can bring it to in the future? Is there anything you think of, or just, if not now, think about it when you go through the your Massaro Farm Day?
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll, you know, there's a planning committee. I think we'll do a recap afterwards, but it's, I think, largely through Kate's efforts, but just sort of the bouncing ideas off each other. It's morphed over the last several years. So it seems like each year we fine tune a little bit better. Yeah, so continued growth.
And to Katie's point about our ability to co-promote, for example, the JCC has a huge following on their Facebook page, much larger than Woodbridge Fallapalooza at this point, or the Darling House, or Massaro Farm. So all of these events get pushed out on their pages where we wouldn't have the opportunity to do that necessarily.
Right.
It really helps all of us, I think.
Yeah.
So there is a Woodbridge Fallapalooza Facebook page?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But it has a small following where,
Mhm.
you know, people are unaware of it.
Right, sure.
But as they start to Google, you know, Fallapalooza, that will be one of the things that should pop up.
Okay.
And obviously the town website with the page and the listing of all the different events and things. But that way we can post something on there, and then we all share each other's posts, etc. And this has gone out on the Fallapalooza page.
So there's two places people can find information: on the town website and then on Facebook.
Wonderful.
If you guys don't have any more questions, I'm going to scoot over to my board meeting.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks, Katie.
Kate, did you have anything more to add on Fallapalooza?
I know the one question we had earlier in the week was about our printing of flyers and posters in terms of budget, but I think we've worked it out where we don't even need to use our EDC budget to do
Oh, okay,
that.
fabulous.
So that was the only
Great.
other thing.
And we didn't need to go into the budget for signage because
That's-
Beecher
yeah.
volunteered to print it. I mean, we had that vote at the July
Yeah.
meeting, which turned out we didn't have the we needed actual quorum to do, so it wouldn't have been effective. We would have had to revote it, but Tony and Kate worked with Beecher to use their laminating machine, so
Yeah, and
We didn't have to pay for
it looks like we're all set at this point for the flyers. And if anybody needs the flyers, we can send you a PDF if you want to give them out wherever you are.
Oh, but if you could send the commission a PDF just so we can send it to friends.
Sure.
I think that would be great. For those of us who are not that active on Facebook. Well, moving on to the next item is a little complicated because we have many minutes to approve, and we have a quorum to approve the minutes. The question is who's entitled to vote for each of the minutes. And I will leave that to Tony to figure out.
Well, I think I indicated in the email, as long as everyone read the
okay.
according to FOI, they
Oh,
said
okay.
that's the easiest way to move forward is just if they read it to vote
Okay, perfect.
and to
Okay.
proceed, because it is complicated because of the
Right, okay.
changeover in commission members and
Yes.
things of that nature.
Well, on that note, I would move them, Jody.
Okay, yeah.
Take
And
them
can we
all
get
in one shot.
Yeah, can we get a second to move on?
Second.
All in favor? Okay, and unanimous. That was much easier than I thought it would be. What? I'm glad we had
Evan and I
the.
talked about this morning. We were like, we can get rid of this in one bus.
It doesn't violate FOI as long as
Yeah,
you read it.
I'm glad we had the FOI seminar this week, so Tony got to ask the question. Wonderful. So moving along then, we have a couple of things that happened and a couple of things coming up. I don't know if anybody was able to attend any of the CERC or CETUS webinars. Upcoming, we have the Working Together to Transform Main Streets and Leaders, which is September 27th. If anybody wants to attend, I believe that's a free one. You just can go on your computer, you can sign up. You probably actually can do it not even at the time often that it takes place. I have to say, for my own business, it's been pretty helpful. I've learned about the different state offerings through my work here, and so our business is actually taking part of some of the CPACE, ZREC, solar energy. It's not money, but we actually approved it here for the town of Woodbridge. To backtrack, there's a program that if you want to put solar panels on the roof of your building, then you can go to the state, and the state has money through the Green Bank to loan to businesses. The difference it's a very low interest loan, but the real advantage of it is that one real advantage is it comes through your tax bills, so it runs with the property. It becomes the first lien. If you have a mortgage, you have to get permission from from the bank to allow it to be in first position, but then it basically becomes like a tax bill to pay it off, which is a really, really nice way of doing it. And I'm pretty sure there's also an accelerated depreciation on it. So often with a capital outlay like that, you have to depreciate it over the useful life of the term of the improvement. But I believe in this case, you're actually able to depreciate it much more quickly. So anybody looking to participate in that, there's that program, and then there's another program that another state agency is offering if you need equipment for your firm, and it doesn't have to be it has to be equipment used in, I believe, in manufacturing. I'm not sure, but we're actually looking at it. We need to replace our 3D printer. And we've talked to the state agency involved, and they have funding to help replace the 3D printer through this manufacturing thing. So it's worth looking at all these programs that are out there. The state really would like to encourage business in the state, and it's out there. It's a little complicated. You have to kind of go to 3 or 4 people and ask them. But there are a couple of different agencies that are working on that within the state. And if there are any businesses in Woodbridge that want to take advantage of that, then they should contact Tony in the office. She can put them in touch with me. I'm happy to steer businesses in the right direction to make sure that we're all taking advantage of what there is to offer. Moving along, Freedom of Information Forum. I was only able to attend the last part. I'd been to many others. Did anybody else? I know Miko was there. Maybe Miko, do you want to give
It's actually a very useful session because he gives very practical information as to how we operate and what's good and what's not good. One of the 2 biggest topics I think he really emphasizes on is specifically meetings, and then exemptions to votes and things of that nature, and information, just records. Meetings and records is really basically the way to put it. But particularly as relates to the different commissions and forums, it's very important to understand that it's not appropriate to have a meeting. You meet as friends or whatever and start to discuss EDC type information that really the public should be aware of, it's wrong. You're not supposed to do that type of thing. So, but it becomes very cumbersome to figure out, okay, so when do I get things done if I'm not able to talk to people? And he was able to share some information as far as that's concerned, like a one-on-one meeting within the same party. You can have a caucus, things of that nature. So it's very useful because it's a lot to read through if you're trying to get through it from a book perspective, and having someone like him give the practical information was very useful. Same thing with the records type information, and pretty much, I think all of us pretty much default on thinking that anything that's discussed in any paperwork that comes to us as a government is a public record. And anything that does come in and becomes a public record is available for viewing. And that's not always the case. There's a lot of exceptions, exemptions, and exclusions that go along with that, and understanding those are very, very important, because there is some information that you shouldn't be giving out to folks. Just as an example, if a police officer was part of the board, well, maybe it's not the best choice to have his name and address and personal information as public record, that type of thing there. So useful. If you have an opportunity to attend a session ever, I think you'll find it very, 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 very useful.
The one takeaway that I have from just dealing with FOIA issues over the years is that the real purpose, again, is for the public to know what we're doing. So we try to have all our discussions here as opposed to outside. Additionally, with email, I don't try to have I can be a big emailer, but I try not to be with the commission, because I really do think everything should take place here in front of the camera, and we shouldn't have these sidebar discussions. To the extent there is some little discussion going on, I will CC Tony on it, because my private email is my private email, your private email might be your private email, so the public would never be able to know if we were having these private sidebar discussions. But once Tony's on the email, then at least it's going through the town server.
Be that as it may, though, keep in mind that any communication you have as relates to business, specifically as relates to business, not general high level, discussions, but anything that relates to business that should be public knowledge, whether it's on your personal email or not, that's a public record. So whatever you say, whatever you do, it's certainly it's considered a public record, and if needed, that could be requested. If somebody was requested, it should be made available. So an email was one of the areas. Before electronic, he was saying how back in the day when they made the law, so to speak, was really with consideration to telephone and that type of technology. And now it's broadened so much into texting and emailing and things of that nature. So it's something to be careful of. It's not to be said that you can't talk about an event, for example, a Fallapalooza, except within the confines of this the meeting. But it's just to be careful if you're not conducting public business outside of the public view is really what it boils down to.
Well, thank you for being there. The TP&Z, my understanding is they're still considering the new zoning rules based upon the plan of conservation development. Again, to bring the new members up to speed, many years ago, the EDC had been designated as a commission to engage Yale Urban Design Workshop to look at the plan, look at the area, our business district, to see what improvements could be made. Yale Urban Design Workshop came up with a plan that was on our website and hopefully will be again soon. It's there now? It's there now, okay. Easily discoverable on our website. The town then undertook, every town is required every 10 years to look at their plan of conservation development and update it. Woodbridge took this very, very seriously this year. Not this time, and not this year, a few years ago, and engaged consultants, Malone McBroom, to hold meetings, charrettes with the community to see what the community wanted. They also took the recommendations of Yale and incorporated that into the plan of conservation development, which is available to be read probably on TP&Z website. The next stage of that is actually the drafting of new zoning laws based upon, or regulations, based upon what's in that plan of conservation development. My understanding is the major significant change will be based upon what Yale recommended in our commercial area. And so we anxiously await those new zoning rules so that we can talk to our property owners and see if they are interested. We would like to, when that happens, we will have some big breakfast or something, some sort of thing with people to come and speak and explain it to our property owners. And we'll invite all the commercial property owners, and even we'll have to see about the residents as well. We may do it separately. We'll see, but definitely the commercial property owners, and to explain what the potential of the properties are based upon the new soon-to-be new zoning regs. So, as I said, we're anxiously awaiting, but some people can't wait about that, and so 2 meetings ago, we have a developer in town, Jim Urbano, of Urbano Realty, of F&J Urbano, and they're actually no conflict here. They're one of the sponsors on Woodbridge Fallapalooza. Jim has a piece of property on Hazel Terrace that's vacant that he would like to develop. I don't who else was at that meeting? Okay.
I was in the audience.
What?
I was in the audience.
Okay, great, good.
Yeah.
So Jim came before us, saying he had 3 proposals for the property, and apparently, based upon an email he sent to me today, 2 are no longer in consideration because they're just not commercially viable, based upon the current market. He'd like to proceed with the residential proposal. Did Jim get in touch with you today?
I didn't
Okay,
know.
so okay. I'd asked. Apparently there's some pictures, some drawing, but I don't have it. And I thought you might have it. That's okay. Anyway, so Jim is going before. Jim wants to do it as soon as possible because he has financing in place. And I specifically asked him the question why he wasn't waiting for the new zoning regs, because under the new zoning regs, it's his belief, and my belief as well, that he'll be able to build it as of right, and he won't have to go for a variance or an exception to the current zoning laws. Having been in this business for many, many years, and having lived through the economic downturn when financing dried up, Jim does not want to wait for Woodbridge to promulgate the new zoning laws, and is going before TP&Z in October to ask for a variance for the property. I don't know if the variance is the right word, but and so he has asked us if we would consider. He asked me to ask us to consider, and that was the purpose of him being here in June, to make some sort of statement endorsing the proposal. And Jeremy is recusing himself from it because Jeremy's firm is involved.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask Jeremy do you know how many units it is?
I believe,
Is it 12? It's not big. I think it may be 12.
It may even be less than that.
I think it is also.
I think it may be
it's less?
6 actually.
Okay.
I thought it was at 8. When
Okay,
this
well,
was the first time.
So not big.
Yeah.
And the building, I think, is within height restrictions, but he wants to put like some sort of cupola on top of the building,
Sort of
and
like
so
a
that
tower.
will not be in height restrict. That he'll need a variance for, because just architecturally he thinks it would look nicer.
Maybe sort of a tower on
Yeah.
the top of it that you could see from down below.
I think parking was to be underneath.
Underneath the building, yes.
And
Elevator, I think, for handicap access.
that part I don't remember. So I think that's a great idea. I mean, certainly if he waited for the zoning regs, he wouldn't even have to come. The new zoning regs, he wouldn't have to come to us for this proposal. But before we open up to motions, does anybody who was not there and not any of the new members in particular have any questions?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the proposal that he's going forward
Right.
with. Just if that could be fleshed out, or if I could point it in.
Yeah, I think the issue is the timing.
Okay.
So the meeting's in October, and he asked for the letter now. And I said to him today when he emailed, I said, I think we have some new members. I'm not sure if we'll be may not feel comfortable endorsing that. So I understand that.
But if I'm not mistaken, you might be asking can you just describe what the overall project is again?
Sure, it'll be a condominium setup with it's 6 to 8 units based on mixed information, but
6 to 8, not
6 to 8, 6 to 8. Nice units, well appointed, and the whole idea is that you'd actually bring some nice residential properties into the business district where people can live and walk to restaurants and walk to shops and be part of the business district and have sort of an area we can live and walk downtown and sort of enjoy what Woodbridge has in the business district.
What streets is it closest?
So it's Hazel Terrace. It's right behind what's the name of the center?
Plaza.
Selden?
Yeah, it's right behind Selden Plaza. So it's the hill right behind Selden. At the top of the hill, you have 33
Yeah,
Hazel Terrace.
I think I know what you're talking about.
So
Yeah.
Selden Plaza backs up to it. You've got another parking lot there. So it's literally, if you're behind Selden Plaza, where I think there's a chiropractor up there and a couple other, if you looked across the street, diagonal to the left.
It's in need of a little bit of freshening up and repair over there anyway.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, which is part of the reason I think he's going there, because he owns the property. I mean, I'm in support of it. I think it's a great idea. It'll increase property values in there. There's a couple of houses already on that road.
Right.
It'll boost them. It'll give access to people in the area. As Jeremy was saying, you could walk to Stop and Shop if you needed to, if you're there, or down to the plaza or to any of the other places. So, I'm a fan of what Jim has done in the area. He's done a great job with 245. My office is on Research Drive. They're Jim's properties as well. So I'm
The
really
property
supportive.
that's there, is it just like an abandoned building?
No,
vacant lot.
it's a vacant
It's a
lot.
vacant lot,
So you've
yeah.
got a
Vacant lot.
Yes.
You've got a office building and then a swath of land, and then you've got a house. And this would be in between the two. They'd build the property into the cliff.
Right.
And there would be a trail in the back of it. Apparently behind the property, there's about a 2-acre open piece of land that those residents could enjoy. And that land opens up to some of the public trails that we have that actually lead out to the overpass when you're going up Fountain Street, where it leads to Ansonia. There's a little opening into these walking trails, and the land would open up into that so you could access those trails. So it's a nice.
Right. So I have the description, a better description. 7 units with 15. What?
Between 6
Right,
and 8.
exactly.
6 to 8 works.
I was way too high. But 15 parking spaces, so maybe that's where I got my 12 from, which exceeds the parking requirements. The building will have 2.5 stories with parking under in the first level, an elevator, and 1 or 2 bedroom units in the upper 1.5 stories. Well-detailed colonial architecture would include front and rear terraces for the views of West Rock Ridge and open space. He feels the infill development will increase local property values, incentivize redevelopment, and add to the vitality and viability of the commercial district, and thereby help ease the town's property tax burden.
You're not adding any new streets or anything like that?
No, it's not a new street. The only thing I did ask him was one of the things that the Urban Design Workshop plan said was that it would be great if we could have trailheads to access the whatever resources, either West Rock or this trail, which I didn't even know existed, so that people would want to park and hike and then come down and frequent the commercial areas. So I kind of suggested that maybe we'd support it, and also highlight, if we vote to support it, highlight in the letter that we would like to see, because we don't have the power to negotiate anything, actually, that we would love to see as part of the approval process that there be a trailhead. That would be an easement for the public to use to go behind his building to access the trail, because then you could actually walk from Fountain Street, hike from Fountain Street and down to our business district, which would be really nice. So.
I'm in support of it.
Yeah. Oh, and I have to say, Jim built my house, so I don't have any commercial relationship with him, but he did build my house. So, would you like to make a motion?
Yeah, I make a motion that we support Jim's proposal.
Okay.
With the caveat that you mentioned about access to easement for the trailhead access.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what was that?
We support Jim's proposal with Jody's caveat of having access to the trails.
So
when I was
only if the trailhead is in place, is that what
I'll support it either way.
Right.
Okay, that's what I wanted to make
Yes.
sure.
Right.
Okay.
Would we
But
like
we
to
suggest-
recommend that
we
you
recommend.
provide a
With
public access point?
recommendation of trailhead, okay.
And I would second that, because I
Okay.
think it's a great idea to encourage development over there.
Yeah.
And all in favor? Okay. All opposed? You're recusing?
I am.
Okay. And I'm just curious.
I just don't know enough
Okay,
about.
that's fair.
I mean, the one question that and it's longer than I think we could have time in the meeting, is with concentrated housing, I mean, the number one cost, I mean, yes, we get more taxes, but the number one cost and why people would move to Woodbridge would be for the schools. So if you concentrate the housing in a condo, it's highly likely that the people that would move in would have kids. And then we have the cost of schools for those kids. So is it actually a net tax benefit?
I think my understanding is that Woodbridge is deficient in housing that older people can use. People who are downsizing. So I think the goal is, and his idea of his market segment is to get people who want to move out of their bigger houses and downsize. So I don't think Jim's expecting an impact like that.
Yeah, it's not really.
It's not a rental. It's a condo.
Yeah, it's a condominium. It's not meant to be sort of entry-level housing. It's meant to be more of an opportunity for. You got a lot of big houses in Woodbridge, and when empty nesters are living in a 3,500 square foot house, they want to stay in this awesome town, but they have nowhere to go. So it's a great
that was the
opportunity.
part that I just didn't understand the dynamics of based on his proposal. Because when he was here the last time, he was talking about a hotel and all these different things.
Yeah.
So I just don't know enough about.
But I think with single bedroom, you're not 7 units. It's not even if they're
2-bedroom.
in the unlikely event there were children involved, wouldn't be that many children. Number one, number two. I certainly wouldn't want to move into a 1-bedroom or even a 2-bedroom with if I had 2 children. I mean, just.
Without knowing what the exact proposal was, all I was saying is that I
Right.
feel like.
Well, for high school, you can buy your way in from another town for $15,000. So, I mean, it's really Beecher that you'd be concerned about. But for $15,000, I think people might prefer living in Westville. It's less expensive.
Right, buy their way in.
Right. And then buy their way in.
Damn, yeah,
So,
absolutely.
It's also only 7 units too, so we're not looking at a huge.
Right.
influx of people.
Right. I will send you the language that I read.
Joey, I just also I did not see all the vote. I didn't need you to redo the votes, so I wasn't
We don't need to
sure.
redo it because I saw it.
Okay, so could you tell me what it is?
Sure.
'Cause I have
One abstention. Your own motion, and second was here. Jeremy abstained, and Michael said no. So, and you said,
Yes.
and everybody else said yes.
Definitely in favor.
Yeah,
Yes, okay.
yeah, okay. Perfect. Thank you. I know that Jim will be very excited.
And you said
Maybe it should have been an abstain.
Do you want
I think an abstain.
You abstaining because you didn't have enough information?
Yeah, I would say
Okay.
abstain would probably have been. more
Okay,
appropriate.
that's fine.
Okay, so 2 abstained and everyone else in favor.
Wonderful. So moving along, if anybody wants to go to that public hearing and speak, I mean, you're now eligible to speak on the behalf of the
Am I?
proposal? You recused yourself, so you have.
I'll run it by.
It's worth running by.
Yeah,
So,
run it by Jerry, but
Sure, yeah.
But you recused yourself, so you no longer. I mean, you didn't take a vote, so
Right.
you basically stated, "I have an interest in this. I have an interest in seeing it happen," and so I think you can pursue your interest if you need to. But definitely run it by Jerry.
I will.
And anybody else, of course, who wants to take the time out of their evening to attend another meeting. Really important thing that's happening next on the agenda is the DOT, Department of Transportation Hero Tunnel Project Update, which is happening October 16th, I'm not sure the day of the week, at 6:30 at Hamden Town Hall. I went to the last meeting, which was held in New Haven. For those who are not familiar with this, project, they're planning on redoing, DOT's planning on redoing the tunnel between Woodbridge and Hamden, which is going to have a huge impact while it's under construction. And they hope, I believe, to long-term improve the tunnel and maybe make 3 tubes rather than 2. And it's a very expensive endeavor, but it needs to be done. The infrastructure is beginning to fail, and the capacity, anybody who lives here knows that you'll hit traffic if you go at 4 o'clock because people just don't know what to do with it, don't know how to enter the tunnel. The entrance is too narrow. So if anybody would like to go, I'm sure I know Beth was at the last meeting with Stephanie, so we will be represented. But it's worth familiarizing yourself at least with taking a look at their website with the project, especially anybody who works in that area. It's good to know. As an aside, we have successfully petitioned DOT to carve out Exit 59 from that long-term project. At one point it was consolidated, which meant they wouldn't deal with the Exit 59 issue for the 10 years it's going to take to build the tunnel. I'm not sure how long it will. And they have carved that out, at least a short-term solution. So currently we have an F rating on our exit. It should be brought up to a C- in the next year. I think they're actually going to start construction in the spring of just some minor tweaks to the exit of 59. They've already actually improved significantly. I don't know if anybody enters the highway coming from Woodbridge, not coming from New Haven. They made a right turning lane, a designated right turning lane, getting on to the Merritt going north, the Webber Cross going north. And I have noticed, I drive that way, that it is a significant improvement, and like literally 2 or 3 minute improvement, I think, to turn. So I'm anxious to see what, even though they're minor improvements, they really can affect our quality of life, and help alleviate a lot of that traffic.
So how do they grade? They grade on A to F scale, and how do you score an F? And what are the?
I think it's the number of accidents.
I gotcha.
I think it's the number of accidents that they have, that they anticipate. I mean, fortunately, I think there was a bad accident last week, but usually our accidents are property fender bender type of accidents.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like before people even get on the highway. It's like at the ramp, getting on.
Yeah, getting on, getting off.
So both the number and the severity of the accident.
Yeah, I believe so. And unfortunately, it's not one of some intersections get really bad ratings because someone gets killed, and then the state comes in very quickly, and deals with them. Ours is more of a property damage issue and the inconvenience of sitting in traffic. They're also going to be widening, which we petitioned, a small portion of the road from Lucy Street to Starbucks, so that there will be actually 2 lanes there. And so they have to, I think that's the delay, that they have to take a strip of land and go through the eminent domain process on that. But that's something that that this commission really worked on to make it happen. So you can, if there's something like that in the community, to the new members, if there's something that you think needs to be taken care of, this is really the forum to talk about it, and then to bring it to the Board of Selectmen. Mika, I'm sure, will help us in that, to see that these things get done, because the traffic's abysmal and it shouldn't be.
Right.
So, but we're not all in the same place all the time. So if there's some, the great thing about this commission is that we create our own agenda to a certain extent, and so if there's anything at all that you think we ought to be focusing on, then bring it to us and raise it, and call Tony and say I'd like to put this on, or email me and say I'd like to put this on the agenda. And Kate came in actually through the Scarecrow Festival, but that she's made that be her portfolio, and she's really improved the town and this whole event is a town-wide event because of her work. So I mean, just if you have something, you can take it and you can run with it, to the extent that it meets with our objectives, which are basically increasing the tax base of our properties, so that to decrease our tax burden, of course, at the same time, But that, to increase tax base, it gives us a pretty wide latitude of what we can do to make our business district more valuable and attractive. So, moving on, Jamie's not here. He was going to look into having a municipal training, CERC, which is one of the regional economic council thing, regional economic council, to have a training session here at one of our meetings. They had come through Woodbridge before. We, for some reason, were not included in the planning, and it sort of conflicted with all of our schedules. But they want to come back again, we think, and what we thought is that we'd have it at our meeting. And so we take an evening, and then we'd invite others to do it. I'm not sure. CERC actually likes to serve dinner, so we have to sort of negotiate with them, and it may not end up being, we may move the meeting at that point, but you'll have far enough advance if we're able to swing that, or if Jamie is able to. On item 12, I had gone to Governor Malloy's speech his big economic speech last year. I was invited, asked to go and represent the town, and then after the speech, they had breakout sessions, and I was speaking to someone who had been the economic developer of Granby and used some very interesting tax incremental financing to help finance. Well, it was the airport, but to business districts. And the concept is that you take a portion, that the town can actually designate a portion of increased tax revenues to go into a fund that could be used for improvements. So for instance, let's say someone built a building, this is my understanding, someone built a new building down in the business district, and we need sidewalks or we need signage. So we can ask the town in advance to pass some sort of ordinance that says we would like to take a certain percentage of the increased taxes because of the increased value of the property to be put basically into a lockbox to be used for these specific items.
How do we do that? Who do we go to?
I'm going to meet with Beth later in the week. I think I have tomorrow actually. And I'm going to raise that. I've raised it before. I'll let you know if.
That's a great idea.
I mean, that's the way I understand it. Apparently, other people understand it differently. But I would actually like to perhaps bring this gentleman down to speak to us because he offered, and speak to maybe the Board of Selectmen, because I think it's an effective way of. I mean, we're not asking to take existing tax dollars to do these improvements, but to the extent that the new zoning brings in increased tax revenues, we really need some significant improvements in the business district. With the state, we've relied on steep funding, which is small town economic something plan money from the state, which is how we've built sidewalks in the past, again through this commission. With the crisis in the state fiscal issues right now, I'm not expecting we're going to get much more steep funding, and so we have to be a little bit creative about it. So stay tuned on that one. And I think Jamie's not here. I don't think there's been any anything on the new developments on the wayfinding sign project, which again, there was some leftover steep money from one of the grants that was not enough to build the next portion of sidewalk that we needed, because the next portion of sidewalk we needed actually was a bigger project because it needed drainage. So the town authorized, and it was within the guidelines of the state, to use that money to create a model of signage for the business district and a uniform signage for the town, which Jamie worked on that commission, and now I believe everything's finalized with that. We just don't have the funds for the signs, so we're just kind of waiting. Hopefully everything will fall in place, but if we can get the money from the tax incremental financing, and then we can put it towards signage, then maybe we can make it happen.
Before the study was completed, it took a long time to do it. It was very, very thorough, and it specifies very particularly what type of signage and things of that nature. A couple of things have happened in terms of some additional information.
Oh, great.
First, we do need to, there is a process by which obviously it has to go through TPZ.
Right.
For approval, and it hasn't hit that yet. And there is no funding for the project per se at this point in time. That's something that's got to come up. And with everything going on with the state budget and the impact that it'll have on Woodbridge, it's easy to understand why that might not be on top of the list. So in light of that, however, the study itself was robust enough and made enough of an impression so that there was a discussion made when new signs are required. Right now, we get them through our Public Works organization. Warren and his team will put up a new sign when it's required. And it was agreed that the format that was decided on in the wayfinding report is what we will follow for any signs that we need, provided obviously that the expense isn't so dramatically different. And so far we've been able to, for example, even some signs that we've put over at the walking trail on Beecher Road, and it's just basic signs, do not enter or something along those lines, but we're trying to adhere to the design that was put forth so that we can be consistent as we move forward. And if we're spending money anyway, why not do it the way we'd like to see it get done? So that is something that's in place and that everyone has agreed we can do. And they'll keep track on it to see if at some point in time it becomes overly, if it's overly expensive, then we have to take a different note. But if you haven't taken a look at the report, it's worth it. It will differentiate. Will give us an identity, I think is the most thing. I was very impressed with it, and I thought it's something that would be very useful as we go forward to further identify Woodbridge in terms of what type of community we are.
How much does this signage project cost? A bread box or a barn in size?
It's somewhere in between that, but it's, for example, and this is the budget or the figure that was put to this particular project was somewhere upwards of $250,000.
Okay.
And
for the whole, all of them.
For basically doing the signage that was outlined in the report itself. Correct.
And like, how many signs are we talking about?
I don't know the specific answer to that, Brooks. It's significant, though. It's at main locations, and they're significant signs.
I was just wondering. You remember? I mean, I'm sure you've all seen signs where like business XYZ
right.
is sponsors the cleanup of this area.
Yes.
And maybe there might be an opportunity to accomplish the signage through sponsorship.
I know Jamie had specifically indicated that there was to be some discussion in regard to that with the business owners as we rolled this thing out and made it more known. And the number that was put on this is not that was based on it being done, but in terms of specifically with those entities that were involved in doing it. It's not to say that you can't do something else for whatever the case may be. But yes, that is one of the thoughts and ideas.
It's not going to solve all the problems.
But it helps.
It's not a cure for cancer, but it,
Mm-hmm. But it's a great idea. It's at least taken some motion in terms of, at least from a public works standpoint, if we're replacing signs, we're going to try to adhere to a particular design, which is a start. And from there, now we see what we need to do as far as we go beyond that in looking at ideas such as what you're suggesting.
Right. And part of that was addressed by, again, the Yale Urban Sign Workshop study, which dealt with the signs and the potential for business involvement. There's also the complicating factor is that we have our two main arteries, our state roads. So I believe that we need to get state approval for any signage that we mount. You would know more.
Yes, you did.
And so it's just, it's a process. But we're on it, we're looking at it. So anybody who wants to give money and advertise on the sign, once it gets through TPZ, then we can proceed. Anyway, thank you for that update. And do you have a real estate update for us?
A little bit of a combo, I guess, between the business outreach and the real estate update. As far as real estate, there's been a lot of new entrants into the Woodbridge commercial.
Well, there's a new
market.
bakery, right?
Yeah, I was going to mention, so Burnt Bakery has left, and Mama Roots Gourmet Bake Shop has come into town. apparently they're selling out of muffins almost every day. I've had a lot of their offerings, and it's really good. They're very sweet people. The owners are. Hopefully, they'll come and join us at one of our next meetings.
If you want to invite them in.
Jamie has their contact. I think they're going to be coming in the next one of the next 2 meetings. But Maggie and Matt are the owners, husband and wife. They came from Milford, actually, where they had a shop along the Post Road, and they love it. They're enjoying. They're at 214 Amity Road.
Where was the shop in Milford?
Oh man, I forget exactly where it was. It was in one of the many shopping centers that sort of line the Post Road, and they're finding that in that center they're getting good community access. They're getting folks from the nursing homes and from the assisted living centers coming across the street to get baked goods. People keep bringing them into my office, even though I tell them not to. But they make things like bacon chocolate chip cookies and muffins. They're doing egg sandwiches.
Bacon, like
bacon.
BACON?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because everybody loves bacon.
Everybody loves bacon. So they're doing well, and they'd welcome new people to come in. Unfortunately, Arlen's went out of business.
Oh.
So there's a vacancy at the plaza where Starbucks is. And there's a variety of office space available in town at 1764 Litchfield Turnpike, next door to my building. There's definitely a couple office vacancies, but it seems like there's not a lot of people leaving, and there's more people coming in. So as far as that goes, it's real estate's commercial-wise is doing okay in Woodbridge at the moment. The gas station is always packed. There's always people in and out. And then as far as business outreach, I wasn't aware of the Realtor open house that's going to be taking place at Massaro Farm. I think that's very cool. I'd love to get some sort of a flyer or something so I can blast it out to.
Do you have Katie's contact?
No, but I'll reach out to.
It's probably on the annual report.
So I'll reach out to them and see if I can get some sort of a flyer to pass that around to the local realtors. And then there was a cool thing that happened recently in town where a couple businesses that reside down where your own is down at Research Park, actually members of OPG, which is Organizational Professional Group.
Yes.
I think. They actually started inviting food trucks into town.
Yes.
And inviting the local businesses to come out at lunch and come together and have lunch out in the street.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily Woodbridge-based food trucks, but it brought the Woodbridge-based business people together for lunch.
Yeah.
So they went down to the cul-de-sac on Research Drive, parked the truck. I went down there. They had a grilled cheese truck one day, and people were just sitting out on tables, actually sitting on the floor, sitting on the ground in the parking lot, just sort of shooting the breeze and eating lunch. It's a nice way in the middle of the day to take a break and enjoy looking at West Rock or just meeting other people from town in a very non-formal setting.
We took part. I mean, our office, anytime there was food truck, we were there. So.
Yeah, it was cool. And then they did another one with like
They give you advance notice?
Yeah, so we would get an email.
So who's got the email? Who's got that email?
OPG basically reached out to everybody in our neighborhood.
OPG is one of the...
As one of the tenants at the end of Research Drive.
Can we bring them in to talk to us?
Yeah, I'd like to.
Because I think, if they're starting sort of a sort of a community organization, then that's fabulous.
Yeah, they reached out to everybody on Research and on Jamie's Road as well, and it was, I think, 5 Fridays in a row in the summer, and it was different food trucks, and I mean, they really had a good showing. I mean, at some point they were.
Yeah, no. So if we can bring them in, then let's ask and let's figure out how we can help them to promote it.
Yeah, sure. Because if we can promote every time they bring in a truck, we can get it out to the. To the whole
I know
town.
people that go down to New Haven to go to the Casey. If it was the Casey,
it was
the first one was the Casey's cheese truck.
Yeah, like I know people in New Haven who like drive around looking for that truck. So
right.
Yeah. So I mean, if we can communicate it through the town's website or the town's email blast, then
it was a real great
to
variety.
go to that truck for lunch.
The trouble is, it's finding Sasquatch. I can't. It says it's there, but I keep driving around. It's never there.
It was a great variety. I mean, they had everything from cash. They had an egg roll truck. They had like the charter pot came, and it was really.
Someone must be a real foodie in
Yeah, it was, as Jeremy said, there was a ton of people. Like I'd met people on the street that I'd never met before.
That's great. That's great.
Even people in my building who
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
right next door. So that was
Okay.
interesting.
Yeah, let's make it,
Really?
one of you guys can make that a priority
Sure.
to bring them in.
Sure.
That would be great.
When do we have anything planned for our next business breakfast?
We have a, Tony, isn't there, we don't have a next, no, we do not have, answer your question, we do not have a next business breakfast plan, but we're open to ideas, so.
I just think that there's a community, like a greater sort of, I don't know, I just feel like there's a lot of new businesses that have been around for
Okay.
2 or 3, 4 years now that
Okay.
are growing. And I think that those people are they're starting to really, whether or not they live here, the businesses are starting to have a love for Woodbridge.
Okay.
And I think gathering those people together more often is going to be
So we're gathering them together with, one night, right?
Antonio's, right? Is that the October
Do we have
3rd?
something as part of the Fallapalooza?
Yes,
Yeah, October 3rd.
October 3rd.
It's at the originally Antonio's. There's the business networking after hours, and that's from 5 to 6:30.
Is that something you were thinking about? Typically, when we did the breakfast, we had something we wanted to communicate to the businesses, and so we've used it as a forum, as opposed to just a social breakfast.
No, and I think it'd be nice to have some sort of a speaking piece to
Right,
it.
right,
But I don't know if I had anything planned for.
We were kind of waiting for the zoning regs to roll out, and but I was thinking it was going to be sooner rather than later, and now I'm thinking, well, maybe it's going to be later, and we need to brainstorm and come up with some idea that we want to communicate to our businesses.
Start thinking about.
Yeah.
I was curious if we can easily get our hands on a list of commercially zoned properties that are vacant and therefore available in the sense
I can
of,
do that.
and
Jeremy's
just,
a realtor, so he can.
yeah, it'd just be nice to know what, because if you are thinking about attracting businesses, do we have, would we be able to accommodate,
So,
certain size only and things like that?
right, so Jeremy has access to that, and then we also have an affiliation with the Regional Growth Partnership. I think they changed their name. And they have actually brought business, they actually look at the availabilities around the region, and if businesses come to them, then they will try to locate them in the best place for them. We have P2 Science
was brought from Rex,
came through Rex, is it?
Rex, yeah.
Rex is called now. Came through them, but yeah, I mean.
Yeah, and they've actually brought some other folks through here recently that I don't believe that they took space, but based in New Haven. But if someone wants to be sort of in the outskirts or they want to be in our town, there you have people that, if someone's looking to come into the region, they contact them, and those folks will reach out to local realtors and see what they have available that would fit their needs. So there are organizations that do that, and as far as vacancies go, I can print out a report at any time to just outline what's vacant in town. There's a variety of spaces between retail, office, and industrial, and land.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what we're dealing with because I'm not familiar with how much inventory exists and the size of it. But my wife's uncle is the first. I don't think they call him selectman. I think they call him supervisor. But he's like the first supervisor of the town of Goshen in New York. And Goshen, New York used to be a farming community. So I'm sure that for them they had a lot of there was a lot of land available. But my wife's uncle is really good at reaching out and finding businesses to come there, and they got Legoland to come to build a park. It's going to be like in a corner of Goshen, which shouldn't impact anyone, but they're going to get a cut of the revenues.
Okay.
And they also got an organization called Amy's Kitchen. It's a big organic food organic meals. They're sold out of
Amy's.
Yes.
Oh, it's huge.
They're going to set up a big manufacturing facility
Wow.
for
That's huge.
the New York City area. In Goshen, they're going to employ 700 people. But again, it's because they had a lot of land available.
Right.
But it'd be nice just to know what in Woodbridge's case, what would be the maximum, what's the minimum, what kind of size, how much land and how much size business we could, think about, just to kind of make it more concrete.
Jeremy, can you characterize in any way, compared to kind of surrounding towns, what is different about the commercial? That's similar to you. I don't know the commercial real estate. I mean, are there the pros and cons to our commercial real estate position versus Bethany, Shelton, Hamden? Other than the very obvious things of like Hamden's bigger. I mean,
Right. Well, the unique thing about Woodbridge's available commercial space inventory is that there's a real wide variety. I mean, there is land, there is retail, there is upscale office, there's lower end office, there are warehouses, there's industrial warehouse. You've got in the back of Bradley Road, was it 135 Bradley Road, across the street from the pound. You've got a big, huge vacant building that could certainly be used for a variety of purposes. You've got high-end lab facilities that are available in town. Fort Research Drive offers the infrastructure of that building was built for high-end chemistry and things like that. So you've got, for a small town like we have, there's quite a unique diversification of spaces available. So it puts us in a good spot in that regard.
Do you think people really, are we kind of hiding our light under a bushel? Is it like, these are like little gems that people just don't know about, and so we get overlooked?
Well, like we were just saying, Rex is aware of it, and they're a regional economic resource sort of group who, when people come to them, if someone's looking for medical space or something like that, they do bring them to Woodbridge.
Right.
I don't know that we have a section of our website per se where real estate availabilities are.
It was intended to be the initial website, but then the town took over and redid the website. I'm not sure it has the capacity for it now.
I certainly think there would be opportunities to promote the real estate inventory that we have. I just don't necessarily know what means we have to do so. The realtors obviously know what we have. We have the tools in front of us in a variety of, even a place like Cirque, which is a public place where you can go and look. Cirque will take listings from all towns in Connecticut, and you can go to Cirque at any point in time and do a real estate search and find vacancies all over the state. And Cirque's another group that if someone comes to Cirque looking to come into Connecticut, Cirque will bring, potential businesses to,
Right, they have like site selectors conferences
Exactly.
every so often that come through. We don't actually meet, Woodbridge doesn't meet some of the criteria for some of the big, obviously we don't have a big box store, manufacturing facility. There's we don't have easy highway access for trucks. So we're sort of limited in the businesses that we can attract. We need, more.
Certainly for distribution, it's a tough area for distribution. But
Well, then I guess the way I look at it then is if there's certain things we can't do, but that might mean we can focus efforts on the things that we can do. Maybe, I don't know, is there any outreach to industry conventions where
That's what Cirque and Rex, they do that.
Yeah, but they're not pushing Woodbridge, they're pushing Connecticut, right?
So,
Rex is more than this morning.
Yeah.
Jeremy, next meeting, can you bring or email to Tony in advance maybe the listings?
yeah, sure, I can pull them from a few different places.
And then we can just see what we're talking about here.
Right.
And more
Is
concrete.
there value or interest in setting up some sort of maybe a subcommittee in terms of really trying to get our arms around quantifying and identifying ways that we could, I know a lot of the Rex, for example, does focus on the cities. It does focus on New Haven in particular. And like you said, if there's somebody that specifically
Right.
is interested in a suburb, then they'll send them out our way. I don't know how engaged we are with those organizations on a proactive basis, where we're letting them know, hey, listen, remember us, type of thing, and what we can do. And I'd love to work with a group that actually is looking to be a little bit more proactive and come up with some ideas in terms of how we can market it, because it's just what you said is impressive in and of itself in terms of the diversity of property that we have of availability.
I'd be certainly interested.
And if we are able to quantify it at that point in time, now maybe we can go out and do a little bit more in terms of identifying
ourselves.
potentials.
Sure.
And prospecting, and actually prospecting to see what else we can bring in.
I think it's great.
It's something like what you mentioned in terms of Goshen with Legoland. I'm sure that wasn't on anybody's radar.
Right.
It wasn't, but somebody made a contact, and all of a sudden something really good happened. So if we can do something along those lines, it might help. So I'm not sure if you're in a position to do that, or if people want to do that. I mean, it's a lot of time.
I think it's something we could. I mean, I think it's a great idea. Next meeting, let's see what we have in our inventory, and let's think of a way. Let's just do some brainstorming and see what we can come up with as a vehicle to promote it.
And from my role's perspective, just if I might, what I'd like to be able to provide to you folks is just a conduit into the town. So, for example, Jody mentioned the website and whether or not we're listing anything on the website. Well, I'm happy to go and talk to the folks here at Town Hall and see exactly what we can or can't do. So at least that way, the next time we get together, if it's something we can't do, we move on. And if it's something we can do, let's figure out how we do it and what's involved, and let's get it done.
So if you can investigate that before our next meeting, that would be great.
And to that end, I'm sorry.
No, I mean, just is because there's a store of town knowledge right here in this meeting, and my town knowledge is minimal compared to what you're like. You reeled off 2 or 3 or 4 industries that wouldn't make sense for Woodbridge to try to even prospect because, and like you said, like manufacturing, and then you said something like distribution. So, I mean, you mentioned those because there's probably some very good reasons why, which I don't know, but it's just be nice to try to get a sense of where where we should focus and by definition where we should avoid.
Sure.
Try to.
Okay. Sure. Great. Well, thank you. Moving on to the next item, we haven't really talked about the new business procedural.
Yeah, so I just started putting together a little PDF with just some real basic concepts of like, if you're interested in this, you should check with these agencies. It's not really going to be in depth. And I believe I shot an email at one point
I might have missed
with it attached in early summer. So
I'm sorry,
I could resurrect it.
Could you? Because
send it to Tony and you, and
that would be great.
We could look at it. But I think just to give people a general sense of licensing and other requirements, both state and local. Just the most basic idea. But certainly, I don't think we can provide a very in-depth document that's going to cover because there's just so many possibilities. But just to give people the basic concept of what it takes to start a business, like a tax ID and some licensing.
That's a great idea.
Just to point them in the right direction. And really, my work experience in New Haven, a lot of times people don't think they need anything. They think they don't even need a tax ID number, and they could just start a business and pay taxes as a person at the end of the year. So just having a landing page with 10 links to various sites, I think is beneficial.
Okay. That'd be great. So yes, I will. Maybe can you circulate it to the entire commission?
Yes.
And then we can have a more in-depth discussion about it. And I apologize for if I missed it.
It's not that impressive as of yet.
Okay, no, but it was a busy summer. Any event, our next meeting will be October 12th, always a Thursday, most always a Thursday, at 7, and we have that, Tony, we have the business outreach cocktail party thing at Antonio's, and what date was that?
October 3rd.
October 3rd. So those are 2 things, so if you can mark your calendars, it's helpful to have Obviously, it's helpful to have commissioners at the meeting, but it's really helpful to have commissioners at the business outreach events, if you could make it. Yes?
We're tabling item 15 till next commission.
Oh, did I miss? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
Um,
There was a few things.
It's 8:35, and so
Table it to next.
let's just see. Business listings. Well, no, we could do it quickly. So we have the update in progress. Tony's been working on that. The Yale Urban Design Workshop now concept plan is now in place. There's now a link on the webpage for that. The YouTube link, where are we with that?
I think that is I think that you should call Sheila McCrevin on
okay.
that.
And that was Michael's suggestion, by the way. That was so that the videos would come up on our page.
There's just some question about how best to approach that, and
Okay,
I think
okay.
it's probably best if you reach out to her.
I will reach out to her. Michael, I may include you in the discussion.
Absolutely. There are
Okay.
a couple of different good video hosting
Okay.
services.
So maybe we'll do it by email and then.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. And then the link to the business these are active links. Then I see the way you've underlined them.
Oh, yes, so that is, you had asked me to include that. That's the link to the Economic Development webpage, and then the link to the actual commission webpage.
Okay. And they're labeled differently because they're.
Well, one is really geared it's more business related.
Okay.
And so businesses may go there, and the Economic Development Commission webpage is more like what the commission's focus is.
Okay. Great. Thank you for all your help, Tony.
You're welcome.
Can we have a motion to conclude the meeting at 8:35?
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Second.